Hi guys, I want to quickly take a moment to thank you all for tuning into the Isaacs Wrestling Podcast on whichever platform you're using to listen to it. I would also like to ask a very quick favour from you, please. If you listen to this on iTunes, then I'm told, I've got it under good authority, that it's very, very important that you leave a 5-star rating if you believe it's 5-star rating. If not, do us a favour, click 5-star anyway. And also, apparently, it's very good for you to leave a comment as well. I do appreciate your feedback. If you want to inbox me at any time on any of the social media platforms, I always accept the message invitations, and I always try and respond as quickly as possible. But if you could leave a public comment, whether it be a little bit of feedback or a little bit of a nod to the Isaacs Wrestling Podcast, I'd be really would appreciate that. It's very important. It's all about getting up there on the rankings, just like Google. If you've got a website, iTunes, I'm trying to promote this podcast, so obviously it's very important that people that are searching for terms like British wrestling or professional wrestling, that the Isaacs Wrestling Podcast comes up in the top 10. It's very important. It's not going to happen overnight. I appreciate that, and the more content I get out there, hopefully the more ratings I'll get, so and the higher up the rankings I'll go. So without further ado, let's crack on to what we're all here for, and this is episode 4 of the Isaacs Wrestling Podcast.
Hello, wrestling fans.
Are you ready?
Ooh, yeah.
Let me tell you something, brother. British wrestling's very own Steve Saxon presents the Isaacs Wrestling Podcast.
Yeah.
It's just one more platform for him to get his shit in.
Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Isaacs Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, as always, British wrestling personality Steve Saxon. First of all, I apologise. There's been a little bit of a delay since the last episode. There's been a lot going on in my real life, in my personal life, which I will discuss little bits of throughout this show. And of course with Britannia Wrestling Promotions. Now, as I've said before, this podcast is not affiliated with BWP, Britannia Wrestling Promotions, in any way, shape or form. But we will naturally be discussing things that are going on at BWP. On other episodes, I've had two good friends of mine, Mike and Chris, join me, where we pick apart the world of professional wrestling and independent wrestling, and of course Britannia Wrestling Promotions is a part of the British independent wrestling movement at the moment, so naturally it's going to be discussed just like everybody else, but predominantly this is not a BWP show, but there's been lots going on in the world of BWP that I think is worth discussing. Obviously I know that most of my listeners, the small little group of listeners that I've got out there, are BWP fans, so they know full well exactly what I'm talking about. For those people that are not BWP followers, I do implore you to check out britanniawrestling.co.uk for all the latest updates of what's going on at BWP. We hold shows across North Wales, we hold shows in Liverpool, we are looking at new venues a little bit further afield. We've got some great things going on at the moment, and some brilliant, absolutely amazing British wrestling superstars that work for our roster on a full-time basis. So yeah, that's the BWP plug out the way, and I will be discussing as we go on about some of the things that have been happening recently over at Britannia Wrestling Promotions. I haven't got Mike and Chris on this episode. They're both tied up with their real life things. In all honesty, I'm finding it difficult to get hold of Chris at the moment for a number of reasons, which is really pissing me off. So I'm sat here in the Sax Manor, in my new makeshift home studio, my home office, basically throwing out the 6-person dining room table that we had, that was just used for storage, folding, washing, everything other than eating meals from. We are very much a family that sit in the living room with our meals on our laps or at the coffee table, and we kind of sit together and have we do have a chat. Okay, I'll be honest, we don't really talk that much whilst we're eating. We're either watching TV or the lads got the headphones on, but it's 2017. It's not the Waltons anymore, and that's just the way we rock. So I made a little bit of space. I haven't got the biggest house in the world, but I have got a 4-year-old daughter who's got lots and lots of toys, lots and lots of dollies and kitchens and playhouses and dolls, camper vans and all sorts of crap knocking around the place constantly, so we need a little bit more space anyway. So I converted what was the dining room into my home office. I'm currently sat looking out of my back window into my back garden, and it is abysmal out there today. The weather is crap. It's pissing it down, it's windy as hell, and I love the summer. I love gardening. I love getting out there and doing a little bit, being one with nature. And I've been able to get out there quite a lot over the last couple of weeks, but looking at the weather now, it's just ruining all my hard work. So yeah, I'm a little bit pissed off of that. But I'd rather be sat looking at the window than sat staring at a wall, which has always been the case when I've been recording these things. Some to kind of distract me a little bit. So what have I been up to since the last show? Well, first of all, let's stop getting ahead of ourselves here, Steve. Let's just chill. We got Ricky Knight. I spoke to Ricky a couple of weeks ago. It's a pre-record, obviously, which I'll play at the end of the show. First of all, the quality is terrible. Not on my end. I've got. If you've seen the photos on the ISAC's Facebook and Twitter, you see that I've got a professional little outfit going here now. Nice little setup. Got the microphone, got the diffuser, got a beautiful little desk area. Got my notes all around me. But unfortunately, Ricky was using a Nokia 3310 or something like that to record his audio. And although I do appreciate and I do thank you, Ricky, for taking the time out of your very, very busy schedule at the moment to talk to me for about 20-25 minutes thereabouts, the sound or the audio quality is not great. If you really kind of squint your eyes, put your good ear towards the radio, you will be able to make out most of what Ricky says. I mean, obviously, naturally, Ricky's got a really deep, gruffly voice, and it's very hard to talk with, very hard to understand with his southern accent anyway. But with the terrible audio recording that he was using, it doesn't come across the best. I'm sorry, but these things are going to happen from time to time. Not everybody's clued up and on tech as I am, I suppose. But as I said, I do appreciate Ricky Knight taking the time out and coming to speak to me. I understood and heard everything that Ricky said, so it was enjoyable for me to hear a little bit about what's going on in Ricky's life at the moment and his crazy life. But we'll get onto that later on. So the last show that we did was the WrestleMania special with Mike and Chris. And what a WrestleMania! I mean, it was weeks ago now. It's kind of it's kind of forgotten about, if you like. We're on to the next road to WrestleMania now, I suppose. But very quickly for me, I thought overall it was a fantastic WrestleMania, one of the best manias that I've seen for a long time. Some of the key points for me were the positives were the Hardy Boys. I called that. The Hardy Boys making their shocking return. I mean, I was up, I watched it live, I didn't have the kids that night, my partner Natalie was in bed, she had work the next day, but I still popped. I didn't give a fuck about the neighbours, I didn't care about waking Natalie up. I popped when I heard the Hardy Boys music. Great to see them back, great to see that they can still go. Not quite sure about giving them the tag title, but you'd like to think that the WWE know what they're doing, so I'll go with that. AJ Styles and Shane McMahon. Great show opener, better than expected. Was it perfect? Absolutely not, but it was certainly better than expected. Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, for me, that was a perfect 4 to 5 minute match. It was perfect. It was everything that it should have been. After the long, dragged out process, after the hype behind Goldberg, after putting Brock Lesnar under the new light that nobody's ever really seen him under, especially since his return from UFC. And of course Brock went over, which I think everybody expected, but I thought that was a perfect match. The Undertaker retirement, the match itself with Roman Reigns was not perfect. There was lots of fuck-ups in that match. There were a few mistakes, obvious mistakes. Undertaker was struggling. First time that these two guys have met each other. I'm sorry, I will just state it there. You can hear in the background, it's my little girl Sophie. She's kind of knocking around in and out, picking up toys and playing with a cardboard box next door. All the toys I got for her. I got a new desk chair for my new ISAC setup, delivered yesterday, and she's been playing with the cardboard box for the past 24 hours. There you go. Yeah, the Undertaker retirement. What was really made it for me was at the end of the night. First of all, it deserved to be main event. Undertaker is, to palm a phrase from Shawn Michaels, he is Mr. WrestleMania. For him to remove his hat, remove his jacket and his gloves and leave them there folded lovely in the centre of the ring, and then to walk out and then just descend into the ramp with his arm up in the air was absolutely beautiful. And a little bit, gutted at the same time. I remember the first time The Undertaker walked down to the WWE ring when I was very, very young, and to see the start of The Undertaker and to experience the full 26, 27 years of The Undertaker, and then to see that final farewell, it was a really nice way for him to go out. I don't think it'll be the last we see of Mark Calloway. I believe from some of the things I've been hearing, some of the stories since Mania, that him taking his hat, his jacket and his gloves off and leaving the centre of the ring was him leaving the gimmick of The Undertaker in the ring, and that's the end of that gimmick. I think we'll see more of Mark Calloway popping up, especially with the WWE Network. I think they'll give it quite a long time before we see him, out of the character that we used to always seeing him in, so that the likes of Roman Reigns continue to get over once he gets back to WWE. But until then, I think Undertaker's going to stay on the down low. He's going to stay quiet. And once Roman gets back, it's full swing. And this victory, his final victory over the Undertaker at WrestleMania, is kind of at the back of your mind. That's when Mark Calloway will start popping up. A couple of downfalls for me of WrestleMania was the Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton match. It was quite disappointing. They were cut short on time. For whatever reason. One of my theories is because we have the Triple H Fest once again. As I said on my previous podcast on the Mania special with Mike and Chris, Triple H is, for me, he's one of these guys. He's obviously very good at his job. He's an excellent wrestler. He always has been. He's in great shape. What he's doing backstage, what he's doing in WWE headquarters is all fantastic. You can see the difference and the change, and the shift in direction of WWE and NXT, and it's all fantastic. But he's booking himself in these high-profile matches at WrestleMania every year. He's giving himself these big, grand entrances, and he's given himself a lot of time. That match went on way too long, and it was just a case of, I'm Triple H, I'm going to get my shit in, because he loves himself. Let's face it, he loves himself, and he loves showcasing what he can do, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to showcase what you can do, but have it, especially in the position of power that he's in, have a little bit of respect for those people that are around you, those people that you yourself are trying to create. You're the great creator, right? I'm sure Vince McMahon's actually the creator, but you're taking on that moniker of creator. Then stop holding these guys back. Bray and Randy got held back. The women's matches got cut down on time. And for me, that was another downfall. Not because it was a women's match, but taking the Intercontinental title match from the main card on the day and putting it on the pre-show. No title's going to change hands on the pre-show. Everybody knows that. And then putting the SmackDown women's clusterfuck match on in the semi-main. Not a great idea. Okay, Naomi won. We all kind of knew that she would, and it's well deserved. Yeah, she's a great worker, and I'm not taking anything away from any of the SmackDown women's workers. They're all good workers, but that match was literally, look, there's not a lot going on in the women's division here, so let's kind of just throw them all into one match. We'll put Naomi over. We'll give them 5 minutes. Bish bash boom. Let's go home. Let's get on to the main. And it's kind of lost in the shuffle. It didn't need that at all, in my opinion. But there you go. But all in all, I was really, really impressed. Went on a little bit long, but if you decide you want to watch it all, you watch it all. Don't piss and moan about it. I didn't watch the pre-show before WrestleMania. I went back and watched it after when I had a bit of time. I didn't watch all the run-up to it because I was busy that evening. I literally sat down and watched the 4 hours of WrestleMania, and I thought it was one of the best WrestleManias I've ever seen. It wasn't perfect, but no WrestleMania ever is. No pay-per-view is ever perfect. There's always going to be mistakes and run-overs and time cut short and blah, blah, blah. But all in all, I'd definitely give it like a 7 or 8 out of 10. Do my Dave Meltzer spot here, but yeah, an easy 7, a possible 8 out of 10, which for WWE on their standards is pretty damn good. But anyway, moving on. WrestleMania last year. Since WrestleMania, I've not really had a lot of time to catch up on WWE, to be honest with you. Mainly due, as I said, to some real life commitments, and of course Britannia Wrestling commitments. There's been a lot going on at BWP, especially in the background that a lot of people weren't aware of. Some of which I will open up about now. First of all, what have I been up to? I spent a beautiful hot weekend in York. Never been to York before, and it was my in-laws to be, not quite there yet. So I've got another 2 years before I finally tied the knot. But Natalie and I went down to York with the in-laws for their anniversary weekend. and we stayed in this beautiful lodge in a little village just about 10-15 minutes outside of York called Wilberforce, and it was beautiful. It was really, really nice. The sun was just shining hot all weekend. Beautiful picturesque little villages, some lovely pubs, some lovely restaurants, and that's basically all we did all weekend. We just kind of walked around, we kind of rode around, checked out the scenes, sampled a couple of the local beers, and then we found one pub which I can't remember the name of right now, but we found one beautiful little pub, and it was when the Grand National was playing, so we sat outside because we don't all agree with the Grand National. So we sat outside away from that, and we had a drink in the sunshine, and then we went back later and had something to eat, and that was I had a steak and ale pie, and I experienced my first ever food coma. I had never felt so stuffed in my entire life. I went back to the lodge, had one more drink, and then just literally collapsed. I woke up next day and I was still stuffed. It was. I mean, the food was absolutely beautiful. The pub was great. The staff were amazing. I just can't, for the life of me, remember what it was called. But yeah, and also whilst in York, we went to Eden Camp World War II Museum, which is an interactive museum, which anybody that knows me knows that anything to do with World War II I take a keen interest in. This was more than I expected. It was one of those things. Well, look, we're in York. It's here. I'm going to go along. I'm sure it's going to be your typical museum, but it really wasn't. It's an old World War II concentration camp where they kept the Italians prisoner of wars. And all they were set up like 26, 28 billets. The original billets were there, and you had a certain order to go around in 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And each one they showcased the different elements of World War II, and it was excellent. And some you go in, it'd be pitch black, and you have sirens going off, and you'd walk into one, and it was showing you about the Blitz, and you could smell smoke, and you could hear and sense all the the crashing of buildings and people screaming and the terror. And in another bill, it was about the medical side of it, and you walk in there and you can smell like all the antiseptics, and it was brilliant. Every billet had a different smell, had a different feeling, different atmosphere, different sounds, different theme, and it was great. I highly recommend it. It was so cheap, it was like £8-9 to get in there. And easily 3-4 hours with taking a steady stroll, stopping in between for a drink 'cause it was so hot, and ice cream, and checking out the memorabilia shop where I picked up a book that I'm going to be taking to Spain with me in 5 weeks' time about Winston Churchill. So a great day out. I highly recommend it. If you're going to go to York, definitely head over to Eden Camp. It's a really, really good interactive experience on World War II. So yep, that was York. Really enjoyed it. Never been before. Briefly stopped off in York on the way home. Tried to get into Betty's infamous tea rooms, couldn't because there was a big wait. So the mother-in-law got a photo outside, and then we went and sat outside the cathedral and ate sandwiches, and then headed back to North Wales. It was really, really nice. Apart from that, yesterday, which was the 26th of April, was my eldest son Jordan's 15th birthday. He's really is shooting up. He really is turning into a young man now. He is a bit of a gobshite at the best of times, but he all in all, I can't fault him. I done good of raising that boy. I done good. It's an important stage of his life now. He's heading into his final year of school. His GCSEs are beginning, his mocks are beginning, and he's really buckling down. I'm really, really proud of how well he's pushed himself over the past 12 months or so to improve his grades, to go up in sets in certain classes. Once he leaves school, which is only just over 12 months away now, he still doesn't really know what he wants to do, whether it be to stay on the sixth form or go to college. He keeps mentioning university, so hopefully that's the ultimate aim. Career-wise, he has spoke about 2 or 3 things. Namely, for years he spoke about going into the army, which I've got mixed feelings over. That's what I wanted to do when I was a teenager. I was a member of the Army Cadet Force in the Royal Signals in Crossheath and Stoke-on-Trent, and that's all I wanted to do. And then for medical reasons, when I was 15 and 16, I went under the blade, and because I had septic arthritis on my hip, so I wasn't medically cleared to join the Royal Signals, unfortunately. So my career, my life went on a completely different path. But Jordan spoke about, obviously, Army warfare these days is a little bit different than it was when I was his age, which pretty much 20 years ago. Not greatly different, but still different enough. And the army's okay as long as there isn't a war going on. It's a great place to learn discipline. It's a great place to get a trade behind you. It's a great place to learn about working as a team, working on your own initiative. It gives you a good set of balls. And I think any 16-year-old kid needs that, a bit of a kick up the arse. But on the flip side, on the other side of things, is if there is a war, you're going to get called up. And as a parent, that's not all what I want to be experiencing. I don't want my son or my sons or my daughter to be called up to any war these days, because the chances that you're coming home are not as great as they were 20 years ago, say, because of the type of warfare that we will be experiencing. And let's be honest, with what's going on with the Americans, the Russians and Korea, it looks like we're edging closer to a potential World War III or thereabouts, the equivalent of, whether it would be a world war as we know the previous World War to be, who knows. But anyway, that's one thing he wants to do. But he's also mentioned about going into university to do great game designs, video game designs, which obviously is a great career path. It's going to be a long drawn out career path, but he's computer savvy, completely computer savvy, as are most kids of his age these days. So it's not, it's not a far-fetched ambition. So yeah, hopefully go over that. And the third one that has been floating around is where we live in North Wales. We're really, really close, as in about 2 or 3 miles away from Airbus, who make the wings down in Broughton for the Airbus planes. And that is a great career. My father-in-law to be, he's worked there for the past 40 years. He's coming up to his retirement now. He's one of the apprentice team leaders there, dealing with the next generation of the recruits for Airbus. My partner Natalie works in the design section of Airbus, so her uncle works for Airbus. It's kind of just like, if you live around here, that's where, if you get in with Airbus, it's good wages, it's good career, it's good business, and if you work your way up that ladder, you can do really, really well financially out of Airbus as well. Which and these days, to find stability in any job is not as easy as it was when I was 16 or when I was Jordan's age. So he's got two very good options there, and he's got the fallback option of the army, which isn't a terrible idea. It's just, as a parent, it's quite concerning. So yeah, Jordan was 15 yesterday, which makes me feel really, really old, and I'm not, because he keeps telling me that I am officially the youngest dad in his entire year in high school. Now, that makes me feel a little bit better, I'll be honest. I don't feel it. I'm 35 years old, and I feel at best 55 on most days on a good day, but he keeps assuring me that everybody thinks he's pretty cool that his dad's only 35 years old, so I'll take that one. And that was the personal side. There's been lots going on. We've got a wedding coming up in a couple of years' time, so there's a little bit, it's just over 2 years away, so there's still, a lot of time before that's going to happen. But we are slowly picking away at small details like the guest list and when we're going to send out the save the dates. And Nat started looking at dresses. I've started kind of having a sneak peek at a couple of suits that I might like and what have you. And wedding cards, and it's just, obviously it's a never-ending list, but we are slowly starting to work away at that. But on the wrestling side of things, I've been really, really busy with Britannia Wrestling Promotions. Obviously, we have shows in Liverpool, which take a lot of planning, a lot of prep work, but ultimately are worth it. The Liverpool crowd, the Liverpool audience is amazing. It's not what we used to. What we used to in North Wales is a completely different audience. When we used to run shows on the coast, it was the tourists, which were predominantly Scousers, or Manx, or Stokies, or Brummies. When we run at Denby, which is it's 12 to 15 miles inland, which is like a small town in North Wales, it's local family audience, which is again completely different from the coastal. But when you go to Liverpool, you've got your students, you've got your adult fans, you've got your families who let their kids run wild, and the atmosphere there is just amazing. So we've been busy with the Liverpool shows, we've been busy with the Denby shows. Carnival season is coming up. We're always very busy in North Wales with the carnivals. This year we have a summer festival, a music festival in Ellesmere Port called Summer Jam, which we're going to be taking a part of, which I believe that's in July. We've booked up a couple of new venues like the Tivoli in Buckley, which is notorious for their music acts, especially in the 90s. Oasis played there, Radiohead played there, the Who have played there. So many big names over the course of a couple of decades. These days, they are trying to rebuild, and I know the management staff there very well, and they are trying to rebuild that reputation and get back up there, and they are doing it slowly. So they've asked Britannia Wrestling Promotions to come along and host a show on Sunday the 2nd of October, I think it is, so obviously we've got to start working on that as well. But the big news to come out over the last couple of weeks for Britannia Wrestling Promotions is that we are returning to Prestatyn Frith Beach Arena. Who would have thought it? 2 years ago we left Frith. We were there for just over 4 years. We built Frith as a BWP venue to be our home venue, our main venue. We went from crowds of 30, 40, 50 to literally 300, 400, 500 people, sometimes more, on a weekly basis throughout the summer, on a monthly basis for the rest of the year. And we did that over the course of 4+ years. And then 2 years it came to an end abruptly. Out of nowhere, completely out of nowhere, where nobody was really expecting it. If you're aware of BWP, I'm sure you're aware of the backstory on this. And I'm not going to bury anybody, but two groups of fans took upon themselves to get in a brawl on the night at ringside, and they got dragged apart, and there's threats of legal action against the venue and against BWP, even though the venue and BWP did everything we possibly could to stop these things from happening and to calm the situation down. Nobody was actually hurt from it, but both families were drinking alcoholic beverages and got a little bit carried away with the action and started carrying the action on themselves on the outside of the ring. And at the time, it was a massive kick in the balls for me personally, as well as it was for the lad, the roster from BWP, for the management at BWP and the other fans that used to love coming to the Frith. But for me personally, it's a massive kick in the balls, and it felt like I had to start again. I had to find another venue, and in the North Wales coast, there's not many large venues suitable for wrestling shows like Frith Beach Arena. It was perfect, in fact. It was as if it was built for a wrestling show. Well, it kind of was. The staging at Frith that is there now was built customised for us, and other people just used it for their acts. So yeah, it was a crazy, crazy time, and I always believed at the back of my mind, and people would always ask me, do you think you'll ever get back in it, Frith? And I was, never say never. I hope so. And time went on, and then I just bit the bullet, and I spoke with the owner of the venue and then the manager of the venue, and we thrashed a few things out. We got a few your cards on the table, got a few things off our chest, and then we came to an agreement. You know what? Let's try it. Let's give it one more try. So on the bank holiday, Sunday the 28th of May, Britannia Wrestling Promotions makes their return to Prestatyn Frith Beach Arena, which has now been renamed. And the 2 years that we've been gone, it's now called Frith Park, because they have a big caravan site on there now, touring caravan site, and glamping pods due to be set up there. And it really is an excellent venue. It's been done up on the inside, it's been landscaped on the outside. They've got plans for the huge lakeside restaurant that they have there. It really is a beautiful venue with loads of potential. It always has been. Obviously, but with any venture of that size, it takes time. But I am very, very excited and very, very happy that we are able to once again be a part of the growth and development of Frith Park, Frith Beach Arena, whatever you want to call it. And I'm really looking forward to walking out onto that stage in front of the always amazing Prestatyn crowd once more on the 28th of May. And we'll see how it goes. Who knows, it may just be a one-off, it may be the first of another series of shows back at Frith, but one thing is for sure, that lessons have been learned on both sides. We kind of needed that 2-year break, because since that 2-year break we've opened up our new wrestling dojo in Rhyl, North Wales, just down the road from Prestatyn, which is doing really well as a standalone business. We've put more and more focus on Denby. We've got the new venue of Buckley, we've got the more carnivals, we've got the Ellesmere Port Summer Jam Festival, and of course ultimately we've got the Dome in Liverpool. And I do believe that if we'd remained at Frith, most of those things, if not all of those things, would not have been possible, because we became complacent to a certain extent. We were happy with the crowds that we were getting, and as would any promoter, because our crowds were huge, they were loud, and they were consistent, and they were loyal to us back then. and they still are now, of course. But we were complacent back then, and because of that reason, I don't think we would have pushed ourselves to take over such a huge venture over in Liverpool, and to take on another big venue in North Wales, and to take on such a huge weekend festival in Ellesmere Port. So, in hindsight, it was probably one of the best things that happened to us professionally, was being asked to leave Frith Beach Arena. And fortunately, 2 years down the road, which isn't a long time, but throughout that process it seemed like a massive long time, but throughout that, in hindsight, it's probably the best thing that happened to us professionally. And now we've got all the new, and we've got Frith back, so winner chicken dinner. Really happy about that. I'm really looking forward. I know everybody involved the whole project of Frith are really looking forward to it. So but that's it, really. I mean, there's been lots of bits and bobs going on in my life. There always is. I'm constantly busy. I'm the busiest person I know, which will really piss Dylan Roberts off, because that's his own little saying. I've had a few problems with my back recently, over the past couple of months, 2-3 months, I suppose. My back problems have resurfaced. I've always suffered with back problems. It stems back from doing the stupid high-risk bumps that I used to take back as a 16-year-old, early 20s, working for Orig Williams. The kind of, hitting the Swanson bomb, working the stupid cage matches that I used to work for Orig Williams, and the big bumps that Pete McNulty as referee used to always bollock me before. But I was young, I didn't care. I had no care for my own well-being at all back then, because I didn't need to. I could land on my back on concrete from 15 foot on the high and get up and not think about it. But now at 35 years old, okay, I'm not an old man, but I certainly feel it. I'm in a lot of pain, sitting, lying, standing, certainly walking. I've been self-medicating in the terms of, a little bit of alcohol, a little bit of paracetamol, not at the same time, because that's just stupid. And I've had a massage. It worked temporarily for about a week or so, a holistic massage. But it's coming back, and it's constant now, and it's really affecting me on my day-to-day life. So I finally bit the bullet and called the doctor, which I never ever do, and I booked an appointment for about 2-3 weeks from now, to go get it checked out professionally. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully it's something that they can just give me a few exercises, give me a few decent strong painkillers for until the exercises start working. I really should stretch more. I should start looking at maybe DDP yoga, because everyone seems to swear by that. So I don't know, but I'll keep you informed on that. But I'm in a really uncomfortable situation at the moment for my back, where it doesn't seem to matter whether I'm, like I say, standing, sitting, lying down, whatever. I'm just in constant pain with it. So hopefully the doc can sort that out for me. Right, before we crack on with the Ricky Knight interview, I just want to give a quick shout out now to a guy that's worked for me over at Britannia Wrestling Promotions. He is a British wrestling independent darling, and that's Flash Morgan Webster. Now, I contacted Flash months and months ago about booking him, getting him back on our BWP shows, because he worked 3 or 4 shows dates for me last year, and he said that he sustained an injury. And I wasn't completely sure or the extent of that injury until I watched a documentary that he released last Wednesday, which was the Road Back to Malice. And I said, it's just like 20-25 minute documentary. Fucking hell, it's good. It was well written, it was well produced. It was one of those documentaries that you probably get sucked into because you know the central character, because his story is so interesting, and it was heart-wrenching. Someone who was so close to achieving his lifelong dream, and it got taken away from him. It got taken away because he sustained not just 1 but 2 serious injuries in one match, and it was the match. Ironically and typically, it was the match where he needed to shine brighter in that match than he's ever shined before, and he sustained a couple of injuries during that match, and he carried on. They were huge injuries. I think it was one to his shoulder. He broke his ankle twice in one match, and he carried on. And watching that match, you can't really tell that he's really, as injured as he actually was. And he got through it, and then, of course, he had to be sidelined for a few months. And this documentary is looking at, the whole process of getting this shot at the WWE, the WWE Cruiserweights, the UK division that the WWE have going at the moment. To getting that chance, getting the opportunity, to be getting injured, to how he was feeling, having missed such a huge opportunity because of injury, and his rehabilitation to get back into the ring, and then it shows his eventual return to Progress Wrestling, and it was a really good watch. And if you head over to Flash Morgan Webster's Twitter account or Facebook page, just search Flash Morgan Webster, who's there, Gavin Stewart. You'll find this documentary on there, and it's 25 minutes long. It's well worth a watch. Flash Morgan Webster is a phenomenal talent and a much loved personality in British wrestling by everybody everywhere he goes. And I look forward to having Webster back at Britannia Wrestling Promotions very soon. I look forward to seeing him on the WWE Network soon too. So good luck, Gav, and welcome back, man. You really deserve this. Right, that's it. That's enough babbling. That's all the ISAC stuff about me. ISACs, Steve Saxon, me. Let's get on to the Ricky Knight interview now. Again, the sound quality on Ricky's side is terrible, so you might want to adjust your speakers a little bit. Like I say, lean into your microphone, squint your eyes, do all the things that make you hear better, and hopefully you hear enough to enjoy it. And I will catch you at the end of the interview. Enjoy.
Professional wrestling personalities with no filter in sight. Sit back and relax, because it's time for the ISACS U Talk interview. Seriously, who thinks of these names?
Okay, so joining me today is a legitimate legend of the pro wrestling world. A guy who's established his own promotion and training academy during the British wrestling depression that was the 1990s. And 23 years later, he's not only still going strong, but is one of the most successful promotions, training academies and families in British wrestling today. He's come from the Norwich Corn Exchange to the silver screens of Hollywood. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Rowdy Ricky Knight. How you doing, Ricky?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I am very good. First of all, thank you very much for taking the time out this morning. I know you're very busy at the moment with everything that's going on with the wrestling and, of course, the movie that's due to come out. So, yeah, thanks for taking the time out this morning. First of all, let's get straight on to that, the movie. What an amazing... Yeah. How amazing is that?
Yeah, well, it's fantastic. I mean, it still seems very surreal at the moment. We all sort of walk about the days, still can't believe they're doing a movie about a little old family from Norwich like it is. It's still very, it's not a dream still. It's really ain't sunk in, I don't think.
Yeah.
Winning the Porsche or winning the lorry don't sink in until you actually get the money. You know what sink in to actually see the movie, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. I mean, I saw the documentary on Channel 4 a few years back. Was it 2012? And I was blown away by that. I remember speaking to you just after it came out and congratulating you and the family on a great documentary. And a lot of people were saying back then that this should be carried forward. They should do a series on it. But who would have thought that it would have been picked up by, not just by Hollywood, but by one of the highest paid actor in Hollywood, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, has picked up on your family and has decided to make a movie about it. It's absolutely amazing. So obviously last weekend I tried to get you on, but you were busy with a weekend of filming down in Norwich. Obviously a few of the wrestlers that both of our promotions use were down there filming with you as well. So is there any timeline on this, Ricky? Do you know when the movie's due to be released?
Well, all we know is that the film's going to wrap up in about 2 weeks, I believe.
2 weeks?
They're talking about 3-month editing, 4 months. And then it's the best time to release the movie, which is, best for the movie. So it could be, they're hoping sometime 2018 it's going to be released.
Wow.
Which is by the time, obviously, the movie people know when to put these films out and when not to put them out. And hopefully it's next year depot. So.
Right, that's a lot quicker than I thought. The turnaround's a lot quicker.
Yeah.
How much input have you? Because obviously this film is based around your daughter Paige and her family, which is obviously yourself, your wife, and your 2 sons that are all involved in the wrestling business, and Paige's climb to her success in the WWE. How much input have you actually had in this film?
Well, to be honest, Steve Merchant came to see us early days. I mean, we had to keep it secret for about 18 months, which is pretty hard. And to be honest, Steve Merchant came around our house a couple of times. That's another surreal moment. Eating fish and chips and Chinese with a man that's And to be honest, we had plenty of chats along the way. And Steve was really nice, and he's really, looked into it and stuff. And, let's be honest about it. There's going to be some fictional stuff in there as well to make the movie what it is, you know what I mean? But it's going to be based on our family, based on the documentary, and to be honest, I left it all to Steve. I trust the man. After many conversations with him, I trust the man to make a great movie, and whatever it turns out, a movie about me and my family in WAW can only do as good in the long run. So I'm happy about it, whatever he does, really.
Okay, that's excellent. How do you feel about Nick Frost playing the role of Rowdy Ricky Knight?
Well, it's quite embarrassing, really, because I'm not a movie buff. I don't really watch movies. I'm a sport man. I mean, I'll sit in the front room watching Sky Sports all day on the loop. Or my wife watches Amazon in the other room. I sound boring, but that's what makes us survive, I think. But, yeah, I'm not really a movie buff. So when I went to do a radio in Norfolk, and they went, "Oh, Nick Frost is playing you. What do you think?" And I'm going, sorry, but who's Nick Frost? But obviously, since then, I've done a lot of work, looked it up and stuff, and checked it out. And it's sorry, that's my best bit of John. Yeah, he's. I'm really honoured. This man lets Dexter blame me, really. Now I've sussed it all out, and it's made the movie massive, to be honest.
Yeah, he's a very funny guy, and obviously you've got some other big names involved in this. Of course, Dwayne Johnson's involved in the actual film itself. You've got Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
Vince Vaughn's an amazing actor, so I expect. So I'm assuming that. I mean, from what I've read up as well, but with those two guys alone, Vince and Nick, that this is a kind of a comedy take, is it, on the documentary?
Yeah, it's going to be like a comedy drama type thing, yeah. Okay. And my family are a bit comedic and they live with us, so I'm happy with that as well. Yeah, we are a dysfunctional family. I mean, after the documentary, I mean, they said we're one of the most dysfunctional families they've seen, but they loved the togetherness of us. You know, that's what the papers put us down as. You know, so they put us down as the UK Osborns after the.
That's fantastic, UK Osborns, excellent. Right, Ricky, if just stepping away from the movie side of things at the moment, because obviously that's the latest thing that's going on in your life. But the main thing known for, obviously, is the wrestling side of things. Now, as I said during the intro, you kind of set up WAW 23 years ago in 1994.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I got into the business personally, I think it was about 97, maybe 98, when I was 16 years old. And I was told back then by all the guys that I was surrounding me, like Boston Blackie and Dave Duke and Norrick Williams, that the business is fucked. They were doing WWE tribute shows back then, and that's the only way they were making money. A lot of guys were kind of still pissed over the World Sport days, but you decided to start your own training academy, your own wrestling promotion, where you focused on utilising your own trainees from your academy. And I read a couple of bios on you over the last couple of days, and it said that you went from one venue, I forget the name of the first venue, but you moved from that venue then onto the Corn Exchange in Norwich, which was notorious for British wrestling, until that was unfortunately closed down. And that's when you found the Epic Studios, where all of your shows now come out of. How was it in those early days from 1994 trying to establish a brand new promotion and training school when, well, certainly British wrestling, but the wrestling business in general in this country just wasn't that popular at the time? How was it for you setting that up?
Yeah, I reckon the boys was right. It was such at that time. I'd done the tribute thing for 2 years, and it's the best money I ever earned, to be honest, in this business. When I've done the tribute shows, I got really good money. So even though I got fed up with it in the end, I wanted to get back to British wrestling. You know what I mean? So I decided to start my own promotion. It was the wrong time, and one time there's only 3 promotions left. That was me, Scott Conway, who now lives in Thailand, and John Fremantle, who's now, I believe, is packing in himself. But we were going out to 20, 30 people, and it was so disheartening, and the scene had gone, and night after night we were trying to put on shows and stuff like that, and it's just, we got so downhearted, but we thought we've got to keep going, otherwise this great business of ours, wrestling's going to die, we've got to keep going, we've got to try, keep trying. That's what we've done, and as I said, me and my wife made so many sacrifices, and if I hadn't had a great woman behind me, it would never happen, because our home suffered, every penny I got went into wrestling, and the early days were very, very hard, riding about in an old vans and the old holiday camp circuit. They were about the most money we earned in them days on the holiday camps. 5 or 6 of us stuck in an old van with the wheels falling off, and that's how the business was. And I ain't gonna lie, it was really, really hard at that time.
But you come out the other end. You are one of the successes, the success stories that have come out of this. Like you said, you went through all the rough times, you went through the hard times, and now 23 years later, you have these amazing shows. Now, I've never actually, unfortunately, I've never been to a WAW show, but I hear a lot of great things about it, and I see a lot of great things online as well. Just the general setup that you have down there in that studio is amazing. To me, it's on par with anything that you can see. Okay, maybe not WWE standards because of the money they have to throw at it, but certainly like the likes of TNA and Ring of Honor and other top global promotions, you're right up there with them in my estimation. So moving on from there, you've got the longest reigning training school. Now, something I didn't know, obviously I knew that you train your two boys and your daughter, I knew that, is that you train the UK pit bulls as well, Big Dave and Bulk. I wasn't aware that they came from you guys. I actually know them personally. I did a couple of island tours with them for Oric Williams a few years back, and really, really nice lads. I've not heard anything off them for a while. Are those guys still involved in the business?
I think Mike is still involved, but Dave was also a strong man, and he blew his knees up in the strongman competition years ago. I mean, Dave still come and visit our shows. I don't see Mike so much because he's still busy. He's in a band, and he still does some wrestling at other places. But Dave is a very frequent visitor to our shows, and I love seeing the boy. And yeah, they're a great team. I was proud of them. I mean, the size of them lads, they moved around and stuff. And yeah, they were part of our school. But as I said, the school was just. I just wanted to make my own stars, because, as I said, a lot of the guys at the time retired and went out of business because the business was so crap. So I said, right, let's make our own stars and stuff like that. And also remember, Nick Aldis also started our school as well. Nick, he's got on and made me proud as well. I mean, he started with us, he moved on to other schools in the country because Nick wanted to be successful. But I cast Nick as well, and I'm really proud of him as well, what he's achieved, to be fair.
Yeah, without a doubt. I met Nick. He came and worked at one of my shows a couple of months ago up in Liverpool. Really nice guy, great work. He worked for Frankie Sloan, another British legend, Frankie Sloan. So on that note with Nick, what do you feel about the announcement of Nick going to World of Sport, ITV World of Sport?
Well, I don't want to sound controversial then, because I'm glad the guy's got a TV slot, but I just think the World of Sport is the wrong name for it.
I completely agree. They're not actually. I don't know if you saw the press conference, but they've actually seemed to be dropping the term World of Sport. They're now referring to it as WOS.
Yeah, well, the thing is like, I'm not being funny. When one come out New Year's Eve, I mean, I was wrestling up your neck of the woods up at Southport, so I didn't really see it. I know the rest of my family, like my father, is a right wrestler. He's a referee for me. My brothers, all wrestling fans, are very disappointed when they turned it on because, being World of Sport, they expected to see the round system and stuff like that. And to be honest, they turned it off after about 10 minutes, So I think if we're going to do it, stand on your own feet. Don't use the World of Sport logo or the World of Sport term. We can put wrestling back on TV, and obviously, I've got nothing against Jeff Jarrett either. But, having American money in the British show, to me, is just, it's not right. I'm going to stand on their own 2 feet. God bless them, and good luck to them, and I hope it's successful, because any wrestler on TV is good for us, you know what I'm saying? But,
yeah, absolutely, you're right.
Yeah,
I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, I remember World of Sport from being, obviously being a young lad, and I used to watch it every Saturday afternoon with my parents religiously. I don't think anybody kind of knew what to expect, whether it was going to be the old school format of the round system, or if it was going to be like the American take of it. I went to the filming of it, and I was quite disappointed with the way that it was filmed. It wasn't filmed like a wrestling show. It was filmed in a studio format, which you use yourself, but the fans were told when to cheer, what to cheer, how to cheer, what not to cheer, and it just didn't feel like a British wrestling show. For me, when not just my shows, I attend a lot of indie shows in the UK. The best part of the show is the fan interaction, and that was taken away from us. So, but on the flip side, this.
Got in and on that World of Sport, there's so many legends sitting there,
Yeah.
And the difference between them and us is I've got them legends backstage. You're talking about Frankie Sloan. I've just signed Frankie up as a backstage agent, We've got people on the stage, who've got years in the business and can help me. I don't know everything. No one man knows everything. Like my training schools, I bring in coaches all the time. I can't teach everybody all about wrestling. I'm not capable of doing that. No one man is. I don't care what they say. So all them lads sat at the front there were just, look at us, we've got World of Sport legends. Well, if they're you, they're use the fuckers.
Absolutely,
Use the
absolutely.
use them to put British wrestling back on the map. Not sitting there like, you know what I mean, trophies, you know what I mean? Use the guys and stuff like that. When I've got Tony Scarlo, people with that reputation, behind stage, guiding my guys, guiding the Americans, guiding my young guys through the matches and everything else. And that's what's making us so successful, because we've got many brains going into it, not just mine.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I could not agree more. I mean, it's good. I spoke to Jane from that Kate a few days ago, and she is involved. She doesn't quite know what she's involved in or what she's going to be doing, but she is involved. So that's good. And hopefully, in time, they will take more of the legends, you know, and utilise them backstage. Because you say the reason somebody must have said. Somebody from ITV must have gone to one of the executives at some point and said, you know what, the British wrestling scene is absolutely red hot at the moment, let's jump on this. And that executive turned around and said, okay, well, let's give it a go. And they gave it a go, and they obviously hadn't got a clue what they were doing. They put on, it was just, somebody explained to me, it was as if...
I'll give you a scoop there, because I was offered that first. I was offered the World of Sport first.
I believe so.
And many reasons I turned that down. One, I wasn't happy with the format it was taking. Two, they wanted to change they wanted to use all my stuff and change my name and stay. You know, I've worked 30 years for WOW where it is. You know, I ain't just going to throw it away and stuff like that and take all my merchandise and everything else. You know, me and my son got offered. Me and my son Zach got offered jobs there. You know, but the thing is, I've worked all my life to put WOW on there. I'm not happy with the format. We got offered before with that celebrity wrestling. That's another one we got offered and we turned down. And that's just right for the business. The Knight family are not going to get involved. I keep telling these people. I've had many big wigs come to my office, offers this and that and the other, but it's not right. To me, I'm not there for the money, buddy. You know, that don't motivate me, money. As me and my wife can testify, we lost thousands and thousands and thousands of years trying to keep this business straight and keep it going. And like as I said, it's got to be the right deal for the business. Not just for us, but for the business. That's what we look for.
Of course. Do you see it now? You said that you were offered it first, and you didn't like the direction they were going, and you know what they wanted to change. Given that their attempt on, I know you didn't see it, but their attempt on New Year's Eve, and obviously that didn't work. So you were right. You made the absolutely right decision. But now that Impact have got involved, Impact Wrestling, obviously it's changing again. They've obviously turned it around. It's going to be more Americanized, if you like. They've got to try and honour the British style. Do you feel that now you could have a place in it? Would you rather have had a place in it now, knowing that Impacts are involved?
To be honest, if I was doing it, I'd want to run it. I want to run it my way. Okay, I was something against Jeff Jarrett, he's a lovely man and everything else, and you know, it's just that I've got a vision what I've had since I started promoting. That vision at the moment we're getting there. When you talk about our product, we had £130,000 put into our last setup. £130,000. Let me tell you. That is some money put in there to make our setup better, okay? But it's not, I keep saying, it's all about the setup. We want to set up, we want to compete with everybody else, but it's like having a football club. If you keep spending money on the ground, you don't spend it on the team, sooner or later people are not going to go to that nice ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, you know, everything's got to be right for the business and for me, but mostly for the business, okay? And that's what I've always been about. And I've been stubborn. I've probably lost a lot of money by being stubborn. But
it's your dream. It's your dream. So
it's my dream.
You're entitled to be stubborn, Ricky.
Um,
You're entitled to be stubborn. It's your dream. It's your money that you've ploughed into it over years. It's the sacrifices that your family have made. So absolutely, you should stand by your guns with that one.
It's not so much about the money for me. It's about legacy. You know, so I've got a family now. It's been great. And now. We're putting over the years, and actually, you know, with the movie and the way things are going, we're actually earning money, you know, and it's been a long time coming, to be honest with you, you know. So we're going to prove it to luxuries now, which we've been able to have.
Hey, hard work pays off, Ricky. Obviously, hard work and dedication pays off. Right, Ricky, before, obviously, you've got a couple of big shows coming out over the next couple of months. Or I seen that, is it your next show is on the 13th of May, the WAWA Super Show?
Yeah, we start the weekend with the 12th with the Bellatrix show, which is absolutely fantastic. Without doubt, one of the best women federations going. I mean, I say it, you know, from wife, but a separate company from me. They do their own thing. I actually go as a fan every time I go as a fan, and they're doing fantastic things. That starts from the 12th there. And on the Saturday we have 2 tapings, usually 3 p.m. and 7:30. And as I said, the stars this time are sort of a Rey Mysterio. And then I've got a big match with Roberto, which I'm going to kick his ass. And there's other people coming. We've got Shannon Moore. We've got quite a few people coming this time that still got to be signed. So yeah, it's going to be massive. I think it's going to be one of the best shows we've ever done. And that's real big for me to say that, but I believe it's going to be our best show and biggest show ever.
That's excellent. And of course, I've seen that is it the 20th of May, you're returning to London for the first time after 30 years to the Broadway?
Yeah, well, let's start through the movie. We went down there because obviously the actors had to be trained, and we took the ring down there for the 6 weeks pre-training for the actors and stuff. And the hall we was in, the caretakers actually mentioned to us, we hadn't had wrestling there for 30 years. So they've actually gone to the local council guys, I believe. They want us to do a 30-year anniversary sort of show for them.
Oh, fantastic.
Instigated by the people in London rather than myself, because as you know, we usually try and stick to our areas, although we want to branch out in the autumn, but we usually stick within our area. But that was a pretty thing we couldn't really say no to, because they were nice people, they loved the wrestling, but they want British wrestling, which is also a bonus to me.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant news, Ricky. So just going back to what you're saying about your wife Julia's side of the promotion, Bellatrix?
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, a rise on it's so refreshing to see, and obviously it's been around for a while now. I have noticed it for a few years now, floating around online. But it's so refreshing to see women's wrestling really getting popular and getting over there, and that the punters will pay just to see women's wrestling as they would for male wrestling. And I'm going to go on to say that I think one of the major parts of that, the influences of that, was your daughter Paige, for what she did over in America. Certainly for the British side of things, but for what she did for female wrestling over in America, has revolutionised it, and it's really turned that side of the industry around on its arse. So I think it's brilliant that she's come from a family that's always believed in female wrestling, taken that over to America and made it popular, and then it's coming back full circle back around to you guys as well. I think that's absolutely amazing.
Well, the Bellatrix, when we first started, we had it under WAWW, which is putting a mouthful. But yeah, he said, when Saraya got signed, my wife suddenly said, look, let's revolutionise the women's side of it. She's doing it on her own, she's doing a fantastic job. And last time we had over 300 in for a women's show, which was fantastic.
That's amazing.
And some of the entrances my wife's come up with, it is now a massive, it's like a West End show. I mean, the entrance some of the girls are having in that is actually, you know, it's always been known for his entrance, hasn't it? I mean, I've even been known for his entrances, but my wife's got there's so many different entrances for these girls. It is like a West End show as well as the wrestling. I think that's what's made it so popular, because the fans are going to be coming and saying, you know, what entrances are we going to get this time? What's happening this time? And it's, I'll say it's a massive show. It's not just wrestling. So, you know, I take my hat to my wife. She's got a market that she's sorted out, and now she's getting a benefit as well. I said 300 in last time, which is amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. But you're quite right. Wrestling these days isn't just about what's in the ring. It's about the moment the fans walk into the building until the moment they leave, and everything that they see, the experience, the smile they hear. And I've seen there, that's what I was saying a bit before about your setup down there, the use of screens that you have, the use of lighting and smoke machines and the audio, and the way you've tied it all in. It just looks like you're saying, a West End production. It's so professional looking, and that matters these days. That's what fans want to see. It shows that you're investing in the fans.
Well, as I said, I mean, we're lucky as well that we've got loyal fans. I mean, they are so loyal to us. We've had, you know, there's some of them stuck from us in the cordial days right up to now. We're on the sort of the grandchildren side. The generation passed down to us, which we've been lucky on. As I said, and we've got so much knowledge behind stage. And when we get Razor Ramon over, and he's front of camera stuff is getting smaller and smaller, because Razor's more interested now in helping us in production. He's been there, he's been on the big stage. So he's backstage, helping us pulling strings and stuff like that. And he's got a fantastic brain. And so we're utilising everybody. So we've got all the old boys in, he's helping us out. We've got Jonathan there, Epic Studios, who's been in TV for a long, long time. So we've got some fantastic brains behind it. So at the end of the day, my job and Zach's job is to put on the best show necessary, get the right bookings, make the show fantastic. We know the other side of it is going to be brilliant with all these brains working.
Yeah, it's great. I really must make it down to one of these shows. I know I speak to Roughneck quite a lot, and Mr. Williams, Sparks Williams, and they're constantly raving on about how great these shows are and trying to get me down there. So I will certainly. I'll have to book in advance, obviously, because they sound out pretty quick, but I will get down there at some point. One thing I do want to touch on, Ricky, if you do not mind, is the recent news of WWE coming to Norwich. Now, I'm going to give you what my take on it is, as in what I've heard and hearsay through the Grapplevine and what have you. Is they announced that they were going to not only to Norwich, the town, the region that you've been building for 23 years. But they're also going to Epic Studios, and they decided to make that announcement during your last weekend of shows. Is that right?
They did. The day of what shows, they made that announcement. I mean, that's why the radio caught me on a bed. I've just been told, and then I had a mic under me, under my face. It was quite that time, and I wasn't actually there. I don't like to make of it because, like I just said at the time, WWE had never come to Norwich, nor's TNA, nor's any of the big companies ever come to Norwich. And there's an amicable way of doing things. I mean, like the ICW come to Norwich, me and Mark Dallas spoke on the phone. I was completely happy about it. We had no things whatsoever. The boys come around after the show and even come around and shook my hand. And it's so amicable because, ICW do a different style show to me, so I've got no problem with that, and the boys are lovely lads and stuff like this, It's just the way that it was done, and the hall was actually booked by agents who put it down as a sporting night. It didn't say it was wrestling. And the usual agents what go to Epic Studios and bands, so obviously the Epic guys didn't get no wind of it until the day of our show. They were told it's a wrestling event, so I put them in the middle as well.
Right.
But then, so when I sat down, I thought, I can play this two ways. I can get the ump and be a pratch about it, or I can blow them out of the water. So what I'm going to do now, I mean, no disrespect, I mean, a lot of the guys around here bought the tickets on the logo, WWE, but didn't realise it's going to be all the British guys, So a lot of them expect to see some of their big stars, and it's not going to happen.
Do you feel that they are literally going to your neck of the woods, your venue that you have built, because of that reason, because of how well you built it, and because you've got that big catchment now of wrestling fans in the area that you've spent time and money on over 23 years of building, that they are trying to capitalise on that now?
To be honest, I did first got to think that, but then hearing the story, they've got agents who go around the country booking halls for them. I think it's the agents what are more deceitful than the company, because as I said, that was booked as a sporting event. They didn't come out and say WWE want to use your venue in 5 months' time. They said it was going to be a sporting event. Well, obviously, Epic Studio had the boxing down there, they had the cage fighting, they had a lot down there, so they didn't suspect nothing. It was only on the day of our show when WWE made their announcement that the governor down at Epic Studios suddenly realised it was a wrestling show. So he was stuck in the middle because these guys who give him all these acts booked WWE, he's got a Raven, Ricky Knight pissed off in his office who's threatening to wreck the place, so he was sort of stuck in the middle. So after talks between the family and stuff like that, we said, okay, we can't stop this, they're too big, they're too powerful, so let's just do our best to blow them out of the water. So we've got Road Mysterio, we've got all these top guys coming in, and the tickets are as fast as they're sold for a show for a long, long time. So it's just showing us that WWE being on a week for us is not affected. Anyway, it's affected us is an old build-up, which takes about a week, and we ain't going to get a week because WWE is done the week before, but that's the only way it's really affecting it.
Right.
But I do believe that WWE are saying that the UK British wrestling's got to be taken serious. It's the best we've been for years and years. And that's another reason that I'm a bit upset about World of Sport being. I think we are now ready to stand on our own. Why do we need Jeff Jarrett? Why do we need these Americans back in it? The UK wrestling is ready to stand on its own. Progress, Preston City Wrestling, all them big companies out there. Any of them could have put on a TV show. And we've had to go back to Americans and go, please prop us up. This is the way it looks to me. And that's what's spit me off. I just think that we are now ready to stand on our own. And we need the TV people to have some arsehole and turn around and say, here, you guys do it, But
Yeah.
that's what pisses me off more than anything. Because as I said, I always bounce back. I might be down, but I always bounce back. I've done it for 30 years and I'll always do it.
You're absolutely, as I tried to touch on before, Ricky, I agree. At some point, somebody's gone to ITV and said, look, British wrestling is red hot, let's get onto this, we can make some money, and we can get some ratings. And they tried it, and they've tried it, they were obviously happy enough to commission it for a 10-week deal on every Saturday on ITV. But then they turned around and said, well, I'll tell you what we'll do, what will make this British wrestling amazing, even better, let's get the Americans in. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, if their initial tweet that announced Will the Sport is back, 10 weeks of Will the Sport, everybody would have been up. Yes, that's amazing. Because they mentioned Impact Wrestling in that tweet, there's a lot of negativity. And naturally, because they haven't got the greatest reputation with business or with shows. Why are they not utilising what brought us to the table? Why are they not going out and getting yourself, other British promoters, other bookers, other British trainers, 100% British talents? I'm not opposed to them bringing imports in. You use imports, Ricky. I use imports. Imports have always had a place and always will have a place in British wrestling. But now those imports are running at our only televised, with respect, Ricky, our only national televised wrestling shows. I don't understand.
The thing with imports is, we are doing TV tapings worldwide. We're not just going for the UK market. I've got an agent who actually lives in Spain who is a distributor. So all our TV stuff is going worldwide. We're not just looking at the British market.
Okay.
And we needed people like Scott Horn and stuff like that to make them TV people think, oh look, they got Scott Horn, they got this must be a big company. It's all about that. But I can tell you, in January, we did have one import on the show, and our crowds were bigger than the imports. We just had all our British guys on.
That's happening.
We sold out shows.
Yeah,
so this show, the UK scene is on its own, but we do need these guys in the background to help us, to make people think we're powerful. But what I'm saying, in the UK at the moment, we don't need them, in my opinion, because we're so strong. All these companies out there, as I said, your company, all the companies over the world. We don't need the Americans right now, and if we're not going to do it now, we're never ever going to stand on our own feet. That's my frustration.
Yeah, absolutely. The way I feel now is if these 10 weeks don't go right, then this is our final chances. We will have to wait another 30 years to be given the opportunity again. We've got to get it right this time. We've got to. And I hope that some of the talent they got on there, Ricky, are amazing. I never ever have knocked the talent. They've got some really good girls and guys on there. But that's not the problem. It's the people backstage and what they're sending these guys and girls out there to do, and the way they're putting it all together. I don't want to see it. If I want an American TV show, if I want to watch American wrestling, I'll either tune into TNA, Ring of Honor, or WWE. I can access that on my phone. I don't want to.
There's cameras now. I mean, I used to work for Orig, probably the same as you did, Orig Williams, and I've done his TV shows. No one out there told us how to behave on TV or what camera angles were. We were sent out the door to wrestle, okay? And some of the guys are still doing that, whereas we teach our guys camera angles, we teach them how to behave on the TV. It's all part of TV now. I mean, if someone's got someone in a hold away from the camera or they're facing the wrong way, this is all shit to TV. It's a different ball game. I mean, I remember my daughter got signed for WWE. Regal said to her, forget everything you've been taught, you're now a TV star. That's his very words to my daughter. And this is what I'm worried about, You've got to have the right people doing the right things at the right time. It's no good saying, for example, Alex Shane, how's he going to teach people how to do that? If you've got one person involved. You need everybody involved, every person with the experience in the field they need to make this right. And that's why one fair as well. They're just going to go out there and swing these guys on camera. They don't even know how to react on camera.
Yeah. Couldn't put it started hit the nail on the head there, Ricky. Well, hopefully it will play out. Hopefully these 10-week shows will play out.
I'm not going to sit in and keep your fingers crossed it don't succeed. I want it to succeed because any wrestler on TV is good for the rest of us, As I said, it'll help all of us and it'll make some of our lads household names. But what I'm saying is, the only thing I am upset about is it should be UK. We're strong enough to do it on our own. That's my only thing against it, okay? I don't want to sound negative because everyone's saying, it's an old fossil, an old dinosaur. It's not that at all. It's just I love British wrestling, okay, and I want to see British wrestling back on TV and not hybrid.
You know what? I don't think it's got nothing to do with your age, Ricky. I don't think that's how people will think about it. I'm 35 years old and I feel exactly the same way, and I feel very strongly about it. When I first got into this business, Ricky, for Oric Williams, I didn't know anything about British wrestling because there wasn't really a British wrestling scene. I got into the business because I wanted to be a WWE wrestler, and obviously that never happened. But over the years, since being involved in British wrestling, I have fallen in love with British wrestling, all things British wrestling. So this for me, when I got invited to the TV tapings, I was like, yes, World of Sport is finally given the chance. And when I went to see it, I was like, this is really not World of Sport. This is not what I saw when I was a kid. I do believe that style is gone and it wouldn't be as over these days. But as you said, they shouldn't have used the World of Sport brand then. They should have rebranded something completely different.
I mean, I'm not advocating we go back to the old World of Sport style because that is dead and buried. But British wrestling's still very good out there. I mean, you still got people like your James Masons and my sons who can actually go out there and give you 10 rounds of British wrestling. Danny Boy Collins and people like that selective, We still use the old traditional rules. We still have the public orders, even though we are more, well, I hate to say it, we're probably more Americanised than what we used to be. We still try and keep the British style going. We still have some rounds matches. Our world titles are still rounds. We still get the fanfares. We still get the national anthems. We still try and be traditional, even though we've got all this new craziness and these lovely things around us. We still try to keep the traditions of British wrestling going. Because if we don't, it's going to die. I mean, in our training school, we teach British wrestling, okay? And then we add the razzmatazz later. But they're all grounded on British wrestling. My wife goes all over the world, to Australia, America, all the world, to teach British wrestling. She's so busy, it's unbelievable. She gets paid good money to do it because people want the British wrestling. Even the American guys. I mean, Scott Hall is fascinated when he sees my wife's seminars, because they don't know how to do that style. And it's a style, it's an art form, it's an art we can't let go. It's like an oil painting. We keep it in the museum to preserve it. And British wrestling should be reserved as well, so people can still do it if needed and if wanted. And that should be the basis of training someone, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And these Americans are not just coming over here for the big paydays. They're coming over here to learn our style of wrestling, as they always have done. Years and years ago, I remember, again, for Oric, that he used to have the Yanks coming over here. I remember Gangrel coming over, Dave, lovely guy, but when he just had his neck injury. And the WWE had said, look, go have some time off, rest up, but get over to Britain. Get over to Britain, learn their style, change it up a little bit, and then come back and we'll have another look at you. And the amount of stories I've heard for other top names, top guys that now work for WWE, they're about to do the same thing. They came over here to learn our style.
Owen Hart, Bret Hart, I can remember Juice van der Leyen. I remember wrestling with Juice van der Leyen when he's over there. I mean, all the top Japanese guys come over and all because they wanted to learn the British style as well to, as part of their arsenal. I mean, like it was a thing. Every country around the world is still envy the British wrestling. Every time we get American over here, he gets in his old facility and he gets a pull round the lads. He walks away amazed. It's like, man, this is wrestling. I'm not knocking American stuff. It's just great entertainment. And as I said, we're now big entertainers as well. But what I'm saying, the British style should never be allowed to die. And while I've got a training school, it won't die, you know what I mean? Because we've got so many people who can teach it. I always bring the old people in to teach it. Tony Scarlo, Mel Sargent, Johnny Saint's been down there, Danny Boy Collins been down there. All the top guys still come to my training school to teach products to them. And that's how it'll always remain while I'm still running WAW. It'll always be a British-based training thing,
And when you decide to hang up your boots, the way that you taught all your trainees and obviously your own children, that legacy and that style will continue for many generations to come, hopefully. We can hope.
Me, so she'll be carrying on anyway. I might be hanging up my boots. I tried that once, didn't like it, and the wife sent me back.
I had a conversation with Klondike Kate last week that asking when she's coming out of retirement, obviously now that she's in a better place mentally and physically, and she said that she's retired, and I'll say the same thing to you: a wrestler never retires, Ricky, never ever retires. It's in your blood.
You can't beat that, man, in the ring, the atmosphere, the crowd. I mean, I'm doing strong storylines at the minute on our shows, and I'm loving every minute of it, and I think I'm still, can't do what I done 20 years ago. I'm not telling everyone I can do that, or, I never was the greatest wrestler in the world. I was like Klondike. I worked the crowd. You know, hopefully into a frenzy many times. Or Jimmy Oates, my tag partner, was the wrestler. You know what I mean? But as I said, I think I can still go out there and do a job, still get the crowd at it. We've got a faction going at the moment which is working. So while I'm happy, I'm still going to do it. And while the fans still want to see me, still want to boo me, I'll be in there.
That's fantastic. Right, Ricky, I have kept you long enough. I know you're a very busy man. You've got lots on your plate at the moment with the shows, the Academy, and of course with Hollywood knocking on your door now. Best of luck with that. Really looking forward to seeing that movie. I will be there. Will it be going straight to cinemas?
Yeah, it's going straight to cinema, yeah.
Fantastic.
Cinema, yeah.
I will certainly have my ticket for that. And as I said, I will try and get down to WAW as soon as possible to see you guys.
I'd love to see you down there.
I'll do, at the end of this podcast, I'll put all the plugs up, all your website details for ticket information on the notes. I'm sure that you don't need it. I'm sure you'll be sold out in no time anyway.
Ricky,
it's been amazing talking to you. I hope to see you soon, and the best of luck with everything that goes on in life. Thank you very much, Ricky.
Okay, buddy. Bless your heart. Thank you.
Cheers now. Okay, so as I said, I do really apologise for the sound quality. A mix of the device that Ricky was using down there in Norwich, mixed with his naturally gravelly deep voice and his southern accents. It wasn't the best, and I do apologise, and I'll make sure that we definitely get Ricky back on in the future, and I will ask him to trade in his Nokia 3310 and perhaps get something a little bit more up to date next time. But thank you anyway, Ricky. Thank you very much for taking the time out. Obviously very, very busy with the movie Fight With My Family, being produced by The Rock, of all people. How crazy is that? And of course with the big shows that he's got going on in Norwich at Epic Studios and on Mustard TV, and with the debut shows in London, taking wrestling back to London for the first time in 30 years. Ricky Knight's got a lot going on. His family obviously individually are absolutely overbooked. They're all involved in the business. They're all booked in separate places, and then they all come together back at WAW. So thank you very much. Make sure you check out their Facebook, Twitter, website. They've got so much going on. There's loads to look at. A proper professional British wrestling outfit on so many different levels. Certainly one of the best out there. So I'm going to wrap this up now very quickly. What's coming up for ISACs? What's coming up for Britannia Wrestling Promotions? We've got the Liverpool show featuring the steel cage match between Joey Hayes and Danny Hope. The loser leaves the Liverpool match. That's taking place at the Dome at Grand Central Hall on Renshaw Street on Friday the 19th of May. You can get your tickets right now via ringsideworld.co.uk. We've also got our epic return to Prestatium Frith Beach Arena, as it's now known, Frith Park. We're there on Bank Holiday Sunday the 28th of May. Head over to our Facebook page or Twitter or any social media. Just type Britannia Wrestling Promotions. You will find us all over the place. Or, of course, at britanniawrestling.co.uk. You can get all your booking information there. I am going to be back within the next week or so. I will not leave it as long this time. I do aim for bi-weekly. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit longer. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit sooner. I've got a big Spanish holiday. I've got 3 weeks in Spain coming up at the beginning of June. So I'm going to try and throw something out there in Spain whilst I'm there as well, whilst I'm poolside in the 40-degree heat with my vodka Red Bull with my new Winston Churchill book. Plugs, of course, go on Facebook, go on Twitter, go on YouTube, go on Spreaker, go on iTunes and search for ISACS Wrestling Podcast. You will find me. It's not difficult. It's really, really easy. You'll just go into Google and type it in and you get all of it there thrown out in one hit. As I said at the opening of this podcast, as will follow me once again, please rate us. Even if it's a shitty rating, it's a rating. It's better than no rating, isn't it? And please leave a comment as well. I am told, I have it on good authority, that that's really, really important for the progress and development of this podcast. So thank you all very much for tuning in. Apologies about the quality of the interview. I've got loads of great interviews lined up. I'll make sure that these guys are savvy, they have the right equipment, and that you can hear every single word so that you can hang off each and every single one of them too. So that's it. That's me done for today. It's beginning to brighten up outside a little bit, so if the sun starts shining, I'm going to head outside. But for now, thank you and good night.
You have been listening to the ISACS Wrestling Podcast. Follow Steve Saxon on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at ISACS Podcast. And remember to subscribe and 5-star rate this podcast on iTunes. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Saxon has left the building. have been listening to the iSax Wrestling Podcast. Follow Steve Saxon on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at iSax Podcast. And remember to subscribe and 5-star rate this podcast on iTunes. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Saxon has left the building.